saw you on the set and I thought, she was our fashion correspondent from yesterday, and you're a doctor. Look at you.
Not a real doctor, not board certified. Snoop Dogg gave me the nickname Dr. Dina.
Gotcha. Oh, okay,
Snoop Dogg.
okay. But nevertheless, you're going to be talking to us about some important stuff. Actually, on the heels of talking to Charlie Min, who talked about drugs and whatnot. But let me quickly introduce you to everybody.
Excellent.
Hey, everybody. It's Dr. Dina joining me here today. We're going to talk about the state of medical marijuana and the dispensaries here in California. And I want to quickly introduce you to everybody here in the Hangout. By the way,
Hi.
Dina, this is our microphone right over here.
Excellent.
This is our camera up here. And
Perfect.
let me introduce you to Trev. He is hanging out with us from the UK.
Hi.
We have Kempton, who is in Calgary, Canada.
Hi, Kempton.
Hi.
Drew
Hi,
is
Dina.
from here. He's in the Valley.
Hi,
Here in
Drew.
California.
Good
And
morning.
Justin is also in England. He's in Brighton.
Excellent.
And I think Stormy's here as well. He's in Mississippi. I'm sure he'll be up in
Wow,
just a second.
all over the
And
world.
Yes, and we may get a couple other new faces here because we have a maximum of 9 other people besides us.
Very
And
cool.
also I see a lot of people watching us on air. Thanks, you guys. Make sure you share the link. And if you have a comment, just post it on our stream here or tag anyone in the Hangout and I'll get them to Dr. Dina. Okay, so let's start out with the fact that you were really the inspiration for the show Weeds.
Yes, the main character, Nancy Botwin, was very loosely based off of me. A lot of people tell me I look like her. I don't really see it, but
I kind of see it,
a little
actually.
bit.
I do see why that would be. How did that all come about? I mean, what was your role in the marijuana sphere? And
well, actually, I was in the fashion industry.
okay,
about
okay, so then I'm
10
not
years
so
ago.
far off.
There you go.
I
That's
knew
where it
it.
came from. I had a
knew it.
showroom in the California Mart. I rep 14 different clothing lines.
Gotcha.
And then I got a phone call one day from a good friend of mine who was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
And he said, I have terrible news. I lost my health insurance. My wife is afraid of being deported if I were to try to use medical marijuana.
Mhm.
And he's telling me this is the only thing that's going to help him hold down his chemo pills.
Mm.
And because he didn't have insurance, each pill that he threw up was $300 and something. So he knew that he was going to not only die from not having his treatment, but he was going to leave his wife bankrupt because it was going to cost this much money. And it broke my heart. And I'm not one to abandon anyone who needs help.
So you
I
got him.
started researching. I didn't really know where to get marijuana, and I wasn't about to go on the black market and buy pot. So I found a doctor that was in San Francisco, which is a 6-hour drive for me. And I drove him up north, and we saw this doctor, and I said, why is no one doing this in LA? There's no specialized doctor's office just for medical marijuana. And I spoke to the doctor, and he said, why don't we open up an office in Southern California? And then the office was born, and we've just keep growing for 10 years, and we haven't stopped.
I see. Okay, so you have a legitimate medical marijuana dispensary.
I actually don't own a dispensary.
Oh, okay.
I'm a consultant. So I work with several dispensaries because I like to make sure everybody's doing things
It's franchise.
correctly.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's not a franchise. They're actually nonprofit
I'm joking.
collectives.
I gotcha. I'm making a joke about it, but I'm really supportive of it. I really feel like it's about time that we do this. I grew up in Hawaii. I'm very familiar with marijuana, and it was around me. It's a weed, and it is called a weed for a reason.
There's actually a gentleman I met in Hawaii who is in the federal prison in Hawaii.
Oh.
His name is Roger Christie, and he actually was able to prove that in the Old Testament, Jesus used a fragrant cane, and that fragrant cane was marijuana, and that it was an anointing oil. So he actually was using it in Hawaii for religious purposes. So it's very interesting how many different aspects of religious.
Convenient.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. You guys have some questions, I'm sure. Yes, go ahead, Trev.
What exactly is the deal? I mean, is it illegal or not? I mean, I get conflicting stories whether it's. I mean, I know it's illegal. I mean, medically. I get conflicting stories
federal
that it's medically or you can't. Or,
Okay, go ahead. Why don't
The
you
federal
define-
government
Right.
defines marijuana as having no medicinal value. It's Schedule 1, so it's the same as heroin or cocaine, and it is not legal. However, the states have decided, California is one of them in 1996, that medical marijuana is legal. And as long as you see a doctor, you can use medical cannabis. The problem is the caregivers, the people who provide the medicine, are the ones that legally are in a gray area because they're not just the end user.
so it's almost like dealing then.
It's actually similar to Amsterdam, the coffee shops where they allow it to happen, but it's really not 100% legal.
It's a gray area, and you can have a certain amount of marijuana. Like, what's the gram?
Well,
what are the grams?
Originally, it was half a pound of dried marijuana and 12 plants, but they changed that recently to saying that you could have as much as you actually need for your own medical condition. So let's say, for example, you have a bad back pain and you don't want to smoke and you want to make brownies. Well, maybe you need 2 pounds of marijuana to make the butter to make your brownies, and therefore that would be okay.
Okay, that makes sense. Go ahead, Kempton.
So Dina, I'm Canadian. See the flag. So I have the impression that I think we are more open with marijuana and stuff, but that our conservative government is trying to change that a little. So maybe you know more than I do. So can you update me on what's Canada is like?
I've actually never been to Canada, which is surprising because I really want to go. But I do know. Oh yes, many times, many times. Which island? But Vancouver, I know, is a weed capital.
Very
in
liberal.
Canada. It's very liberal, and I don't see any problems they're having. I think it actually works very nicely.
So,
cool.
Where are you right now? I know there are questions about all of these offices or dispensaries that have been closed recently.
Well, the cities are trying to ban dispensaries from certain cities. So that leaves it kind of a gray area. Los Angeles County has not actually come up with a permitting project. So right now, West Hollywood is the only permitted city in all of LA.
Venice?
Venice is not permanent. It's part of LA County.
Interesting. So what do we need to do? What do people need to do to get this done?
That is a very good question. First of all, we have to put pressure on the Supreme Court to say that we want to have access to medical cannabis. We want people who are sick to not have to drive 3 hours to get a joint to make themselves feel better. And the other thing is, let's do more testing. Let's show that this is really healthy.
This is the complicated issue because the federal government would have to pass it first so that we can do a scientific research.
Actually, no. There's federal tests that are done right now, and this is very interesting. There's a doctor named Donald Abrams.
It's like a catch-22, is it not? Like you have to pass it in order to have the
with tests. Is it different?
No, not at all.
Okay.
The National Institute of Drug Abuse, they actually grow marijuana and they provide it for federal studies. You have to have the federal government fund the testing. There's a doctor named Dr. Abrams. He does testing on medical cannabis. The problem is the National Institute of Drug Abuse, they release medicine that has a THC percentage of between 4 and 6. The THC that's found in the dispensaries is about 16 to 21%. Therefore, they're not going to get the results that we get.
Oh, okay. It doesn't have the strength as what
exactly. Especially they're sabotaging their own results.
Yes.
Well,
that is because of what is allowed.
It's not even that. They don't know how to grow the cannabis to be really a super plant.
Justin has a question, I think.
Yeah, I have to go on the set, you guys. I'm so sorry. I don't have anyone else to moderate the hangout, so I have to let Dr. Dina go. I'm so sorry. Unless you want to sit here by yourself and
look after it.
Why not? We are very nice. We won't go into really naughty questions, except we talk about pot.
I'm fine.
Okay, when I come back, I'm gonna bring Jeannie Francis with me. I'll be right back.
Oh, that gotta work.
She's gotta go. Okay,
all
what
right,
do you guys want to know?
So, Justin.
Can I just get my question? How is medical marijuana produced and grown? Obviously, that's going to be different from a field hidden somewhere or some backlot under lighting. What's the way that they do it?
It's actually very interesting. The way that we get our cannabis is that once you become a patient, you're allowed to grow for yourself. And if you have extra medicine, you can then donate it back to a collective. And the collective can then pay you back reimburse you for your growing costs, which is really very cool. And so you can grow it outdoors.
It's reimbursement. We're not selling pot. We're donating it.
You are donating it, yes.
Yeah, and so it's not like street price, right? Definitely. Yeah.
Never street prices, no.
It's not grown by a medical agency then, or it's just the patients doing it themselves?
It's the patients, or if the patient's too sick, you can designate a caregiver, and the caregiver can then grow for you.
Right. And a question on the jurisdiction. So you think the federal government, no, but then the state can do their own thing, and then the city has their own level of like,
Exactly. It's
we don't
very
want to.
complicated.
Wow. Mm.
In the
What are
city of
they?
West Hollywood, which is a private independent city, we're a very, very, very small little dot in the city of Los Angeles. There are 4 legal dispensaries, and that is it.
Mhm.
So you're
But can you transport?
telling
Can
the
you
other one
move?
every other corner.
They don't have a permit to operate.
Because yeah, it's amazing how so many have gone up in the city. Everywhere you
What's
look,
interesting
there's
is
a
the
green
stores,
cross.
the dispensaries, the collectives I work with are ones that they have to be closed by 8 p.m. at night. They can't deliver. They can't, you really, everything has to be on the up and up.
Right,
We
right.
don't
Right.
want anything
Yeah.
funny. We want to be as
Yeah.
professional
I
as
think
Yeah.
that's
possible.
So
great
that's
because
key,
by
right?
closing at 8 o'clock, you're actually dealing with some of the concerns people have about transients or some of the other.
Absolutely.
Right.
Criminal elements, crime.
Yeah.
We don't really have that problem.
I don't know if
So-
they're permitted or not, but you can walk right down to Ventura Boulevard by my house. There's more dispensaries than Starbucks. Every other
True.
block.
I'm a Valley girl. I'm from Tarzana, and I agree.
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm at Topanga.
Yes.
Go to 405. I mean, they're literally every other block. Are they not permitted or?
No, they're not permitted. LA County is in the process of trying to figure out. There's going to be an election next month, and you will have the choice of either banning all the dispensaries in LA County, keeping the first 187, or letting them all stay open.
Right.
And currently, there's over 1,000.
Well, you know what the mayor said, or not the mayor, rather the mayoral candidates who were speaking. I can't remember which mayor, or do you have one that you endorsed?
We love John Duran. John Duran has done
Duran.
so much for the city of West Hollywood. He's excellent.
I heard somebody saying, you know what, if we can regulate strip clubs, why
Absolutely.
can't we regulate
Absolutely.
marijuana clinics? So, so there you go.
Well, even
Right.
bars. Alcohol,
bars,
there's no
alcohol.
medicinal benefit to alcohol whatsoever. So
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Question.
I didn't hear maybe you said this on air, but how do you feel about age limits for children? Because I know most young males, their
I
pre-frontal
don't
cortex isn't
believe in age limits because I have a lot of parents that I work with who have children with autism, and they give, it's a tincture. It's literally glycerin mixed with cannabis leaves, and the child doesn't get high, but the results are phenomenal. I mean, we went from literally reading the reports, Joshua doesn't go swimming, Joshua bites, Joshua hits and kicks, to Joshua had a wonderful day, Joshua's swimming, Joshua gave me a hug. So if there's anything we can do, I mean, when it comes to your child, what is it that you wouldn't do? I mean,
Well, I mean, we're talking about different things. We're talking about recreational, perhaps.
I'm not for recreational use
I
for
was going to say,
children.
I don't think that you support that.
No.
But as far as
That's a real tough one with the recreational because years ago I followed the Grateful Dead. Just as a disclaimer, I don't smoke marijuana, never did, but all my friends do, my family, brothers, everybody. It's just everywhere. More people do than drink coffee. But I asked everybody saying, since we're not following the Dead anymore, we're not hanging out at the Santa Cruz, is there actually a place to go find marijuana if you want it? And they're laughing at me like, what are you talking about? We just go to the corner now. We go to the dispensary. And these are people who just smoke it recreationally. They got a certificate from a doctor saying they have a condition, and they just there's no bones about it. They're gaming the system to get recreational marijuana.
Well,
What do you say to address that?
Unfortunately, in order to obtain medical marijuana, you have to see a doctor. And doctors' jobs are very difficult because they can't see pain. So if you go in there and you tell them you have pain and you are lying to them, they have to believe you. That's their job. And I'd much rather you get a recommendation for using medical marijuana than a prescription for pain pills.
Sure, no, don't do Oxycontin or something.
Absolutely.
But
But,
go to Venice and the doctors are dressed like gorillas with signs, come
People
in.
have a drink of alcohol, and I mean, they don't need a prescription for that, but it's ridiculous.
You
I really
can
think
have access and go buy a pack of cigarettes or buy a beer, none of which is going to help you. So I don't really understand what the difference is between marijuana. If it makes you feel good, go for it. I don't think that children should be doing it.
just like
Because
children.
that's something I don't get. Why, like you say, cigarettes and alcohol. Cigarettes that are at least on a par, if not worse, if not more damaging to you than cannabis
Absolutely.
is. Why are they legal and why is cannabis not? I mean, there's lots of answers on both
It's
sides.
all
but still,
politics, Travis.
Politics.
Who came to the legal first.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
It's actually quite fascinating.
Rubbish,
I just heard from a friend of mine who lives in Northern California that R.J. Reynolds' company just bought a tremendous piece of land up north, and it's obviously not to grow tobacco. So
Right.
they're going to jump into this as soon as it becomes legal as well.
Yeah.
I would have thought they've already got facilities elsewhere, though, will they not? With that, because they've got to be ready for it. Companies that when it's legalized, they've got to be
They're
ready.
lobbying like crazy against
They must have like fields in other countries where it is legal, just ready to go. And you know,
I'm sorry, you guys. I've got to let Dr. Dina go.
We watch you, so yeah, it's good talking to you some more. All right.
Cheese.